Some doctors said there was no way he'd return in 9 months. There were others that went as far as to say that he would be like Robert Griffin III, that he wouldn't be the same again. Eagles head coach Doug Peterson, he's played it safe regarding Wentz's recovery this offseason. He's been cautious with all Eagles returning from major injuries. You got Jason Peters, you got Darren Sproles, Jordan Hicks, a lot of notable players rehabbing from their issues. And here's what Peters had to say about them early in June during OTA. So he says, we're going slow. We're not pushing any of these players to get back. We're taking them slow, and we're going to make sure they're 100%. And that's the thing. 100%. I didn't want Carson Wentz back initially until he was 110%. I didn't want to take any chances, especially now since you have Nick Foles in your back pocket. We didn't know if he was going to get traded during the offseason. But then those videos began to surface. We saw the fluidity in his movements. Everything was sharp. He was planting and striding without hesitation. His workload increased throughout OTAs, starting with individual drills, 2-on-2 drills, and then finally taking part in 7-on-7s. And that was one of the things that Peterson said was that's the controlled environment that they could put him in, was a 7-on-7 situation. So here's what he said at the OTAs regarding that. Doug Peterson goes, one of the controlled environments we can obviously put him is 7-on-7 situation. So we've been able to sprinkle him in and watch him in more of an up-tempo type of practice. Those situations have been good. There was also ESPN's Chris Mortensen. So all these doctors saying no way he was going to be back, that he was Robert Griffin III. Well, here was ESPN's Chris Mortensen, who in early June said that Wentz was shockingly ahead of schedule in his return from the ACL and LCL injury while appearing on ESPN's NFL Live program. And here's part of what he said. This is from bleedinggreennation.com, so thumbs up to those guys over there for getting this. So he says, I'm always one of the skeptics on something like this because it's a 9 to 12 month recovery from ACL surgery, and 9 months is right up to that Thursday night opener against the Atlanta Falcons in September. But from people inside the Eagles organization who are somewhat skeptical, I am hearing that he's not just ahead of schedule, he's way ahead of schedule. He even participated a little bit in 7-on-7 yesterday. He's doing individual drills. He threw a ball 60 yards last week effortlessly. His legs are fast, he's stronger, and I think now inside, you're starting to hear they're not going to be surprised if he really is ready for that opener, which, by the way, is September 6th. But Doug Peterson, everybody else publicly will say, we're not rushing him, and there is going to be some caution. They don't have to rush him. Certainly, you have to be prepared for any setback, but right now, he's not just ahead of schedule, he is shockingly ahead of schedule. And like Mortensen, like I said above, I'm one of those skeptics. I mean, we're talking about your franchise quarterback heading into just his third season. But I've realized, as I'm sure a lot of you have realized, that Carson is simply a different breed. Just like Adrian Peterson. Not just the body that he has, but his work ethic. He's a freak. He's made me come around on my opinion about seeing him take the field that week one. I did not want him to play. I wanted Nick Foles to start the first 4 games of the year. Nick Foles starts, Carson Wentz starts, Eagles probably still go like 3-1, 4-0. Either guy. But I'm seeing these videos. I'm seeing that he's so far ahead of schedule. I'm seeing no hesitation with his movements. It's almost like he didn't even injure that knee. It's incredible to see him this far along. But as far along as he is, there's still just one more thing I like to see. Just one more thing. And it's the most important thing of them all. And that's just simply taking a hit. And it's taking a hit right on that knee. Because until he gets back up, he doesn't wince. There's still that full flexibility in that knee. That's when I will know that he is 110% fully recovered. That's when I'll know. And you know what? We're not even going to see that until week 1 because he's not going to play in the preseason. Nate Sudfeld's getting like all the snaps in the preseason. So there's been so much ACL talk that we've almost forgotten that he's heading into his 3rd year. There's still room for improvement for Carson Wentz. Incredibly, despite what you might believe, there actually is room for improvement, and I'm going to get into that right now. I mean, the guy set the franchise record for passing touchdowns last year in just 13 games with 33. Tied for the NFL league in passing scores with Russell Wilson, but he did it in 13 games. Throws for 3,296 yards, glistening 101.9 quarterback rating, and just 7 interceptions. Eagles led the NFL in red zone and third down efficiency as well prior to his injury. Carson was unbelievable last year. Third down, red zone, everything, scrambling, making plays happen, ad-libbing. He did it all. So if he did it all, what's there to improve on? There actually are some things. So let's get into it right now. So the one thing that I think he needs to improve on most is the accuracy on his back shoulder ball. Still work in progress for him and Alshon Jeffrey, I should say. In that area, it's Jeffrey's go-to route. You have to perfect this. You extended Jeffrey. It's a perfect way for Jeffrey to use that physicality, the strong hands at the catch point. That's the strength of his game. But this was a throw last year that Wentz was throwing way too far inside and low for most of the year. It improved as the season went along, but it's not perfected. And that's scary. Carson Wentz in year 2 looks like a stud already, and there's other areas that he could still improve on. Carson Wentz is not perfect, but just wait until he is. All right, so the other thing about Carson, deep ball accuracy, especially, the ones where he has to fit in between a cornerback and a safety. I think he needs to these are the things he needs to get better at. So heading into the Week 5 game against the Arizona Cardinals, he was just 6 of 22 on passes 20 yards or longer. And he did improve as the season went along, but if you go on like Football Outsiders, or there's something else called, I think it's like the Quarterback Project. If you look at Carson Wentz's deep ball accuracy for these specific websites, they don't have him ranked high. Football Outsiders has him at 25th. 25th on deep ball accuracy. And here's the thing, though, because a lot of these football nerds, like Cian Fahey, or whatever the hell that guy's name is, who was at ESPN, they look at ball placement instead of other things. There's one area where Wentz improved on from his first year to second year more than anything, and that was reading defenses. So these football geeks, right, they grade these long balls, right, and the accuracy of these balls has to be perfect. But what they're not taking into account is these long balls that these quarterbacks are throwing, is that throw the right decision? Because guys that throw these long balls, a lot of times, they'll try to fit it into a tight window, or it's not the proper throw, or they'll throw it into double coverage. I mean, you can have a guy in this study, he can throw a 20-yard deep in route squeeze it in between a pair of defenders, and he'll get like a perfect grade on that throw. Whereas Wentz, if he makes the right read to a guy that's open, but he doesn't put the ball on him perfect, Wentz is the one getting points taken off. I'd rather have my quarterback make the right decision every single time. And I'm not saying he's perfect, because he's not. But he's making the right reads almost each and every time. He doesn't do it every time, but he's doing it most of the time. So if you're not squeezing balls in between two defenders and you're throwing, and you have these guys that are wide open because you're properly reading the defense, but you're not exactly putting the ball 100% on target, that's not a Carson. But, that's the thing, too. That's why there's so much potential here. Because he's making the right reads, but the ball just isn't that accurate. And I shouldn't say it's not that accurate. It's just not perfect accurate. Like, say he's throwing a deep post route, and he throws it like a tad behind. So Torrey Smith has to, slow up just a little bit to catch the pass. And that's what these football geeks are looking for. But they're not looking for the fact that Carson Wentz is making the right read every time. Because they have, like, Dak Prescott ranked in the top 10 of these deep ball accuracy rankings. But Dak doesn't take a lot of deep shots. And you know what? He's not always making the right read either. Because if you're throwing a deep ball into triple coverage, why are you getting, like, points if you complete it? That's what it seems like these studies kind of involved. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out why Wentz is so low in these scoring. I'm not seeing the same game that these guys are seeing. But back to that Arizona game, right, that I was talking about before, week 5. That's the stretch that saw Wentz toss 3 or more scores in 6 of his final 9 games. He had yet to record a 3-touchdown game prior to that Arizona contest. So that started the stretch, and he just soared until that Rams game where he unfortunately got hurt. You plug in Nick Foles, and obviously we know what he did. So, wow. I mean, what can you say about Nicky Foles? He did the impossible. He had the 2 best quarterback games in Eagles history, tossing 3 touchdowns apiece in the NFC Championship and the Super Bowl, respectively. You dominate the NFL's best defense. You outduel the GOAT in the Super Bowl. You win the Super Bowl 52 MVP. This is the best NFL story since Kurt Warner. Nick Foles. Amazing. And it wasn't until Doug Peterson began to call a lot more of those run-pass options. That's when Foles really began to take off. It was the second half of that Atlanta game. So you have a backup quarterback that is capable of still carrying the team when Wentz goes down. So that obviously is good, and Philly was content with having the best quarterback duo in the NFL. We saw the trade rumors throughout the offseason, but just never seemed like Foles was going to get traded. And he's back. He's back. So they have a guy capable of leading them in when Carson is down, and they have a head coach that's capable of harnessing Foles' greatest strengths. So there you go. Nick Foles, Carson Wentz, 2018 Eagles quarterbacks. That's pretty much your spring training preview. Nate Sudfeld, I'm curious to see kind of the strides he takes forward. We've heard a lot about him, so it'll be interesting to see how he looks. Played in Week 17, but that meaningless 6-0 stinker, I mean, it was what it was. But this is the quarterback preview for 2018 Eagles training camp. I'll be doing a lot more of these, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this one, and hopefully you guys will enjoy all of these. I'm Adrian Fedke. I'm out. Take care.